everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Market Mindset, where we dig into the reasoning behind the moves today so that we can better understand tomorrow. And today, we're going to be taking a look at the E-mini Dow futures. Now, I don't think I have to point this out. It was a pretty bearish start to the day, right? We kind of ended up yesterday as more so just a range. The buyers and sellers fought over the highs and the lows. They weren't able to get anything going on either side, and that inevitably just ended up showing a range where we failed right back in and closed very near where we opened up that morning. Keep in mind, we opened up here and we closed here. So very small day in the grand scheme of things on the Dow. The daily candle would have had a huge amount of wick on the highs and lows. But then a little bit of a sentiment shift. We opened up way down here. We opened up over 100 ticks lower from where we closed. We closed yesterday above 18,000 at 18,053. And then we open up all the way down here, sub 18,000s. Very strong bear sentiment to the downside. That open was completely outside of the last several days of movement. So it's a very obvious sentiment shift, but we need to see what they want to do here. Yes, it is probably going to be bearish, but are they going to show up and actually keep this going? Or are there a bunch of sellers that have been short for the last couple days who are going to take profit and cause a bounce? We open up this morning. Right here, very weak first candle of the day. Bunch of wick on the top, bunch of wick on the bottom. Kind of what the daily chart from yesterday's Dow movement would have looked like. Very weak. We're not seeing any sentiment one side or the other. Nobody's really winning the fight. The sellers try to show up to the party, but they can't even really get things going. Pretty weak bear candle. And then the follow-up to that is also very weak. This is where it starts getting a little bit interesting, though, because of that big of a gap lower. We're anticipating that, yeah, at some point we may have a buy bounce, but the sellers are very likely going to give this a shot. And when we see this really, really weak bull follow through, and then notice what happened. We closed the candle here, and we opened the candle right here. It's a very small detail, but it opened up a gap down on the very next candle. And that shows us that, in context, in this situation, there is a lot of bearishness in the market where the buyers, even though the sellers don't look that great, the buyers can't get anything going. And that is a good reason to start selling into the move, assuming that the sellers, given the gap down, given the context, they're going to want to get a nice drive lower to finish that drive down off. Beautiful move down, huge breakout candle to the downside, and that by itself, again, in the context, is a good reason to sell, but keep in mind, you're selling really low in the move, so you want to see this either go really fast, or you expect it to pull back a little bit. In this case, it didn't go very fast. It had a very weak bear follow-through. It was still bearish, so we know the sellers are likely to continue. And then the follow-up for that selling, again, is really weak. We're seeing a lot of weak bear follow-through here. So we know that we're probably now going to start getting a pullback. Maybe they pull back to that prior little swing low. Maybe they go back to the highs. Maybe just where they started that big drop lower. But either way, expecting a little bit of a pullback. They drive all the way back up. They go just 1 or 2 ticks above that big bear candle right there and form a gargantuan bull wick. And that is another really good reason to become a seller, expecting the lows of the day to get tested once again. And that's about all they had. They pushed down to the lows. Looks like everybody bailed on the trade right there and turned the market back around in the opposite direction. Huge bear candle sentiment, absolutely no follow through. And that's a really big red flag. So now that we know that the sellers are pretty much out of the way, we come in and we look at the move, and I mean, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive bull candles back to back to back, all very big, closing near their highs, very strong bullish movement. So given that case, at the very least, we're probably going to get a pullback into another leg longer. And when we see the buyers try once, the sellers try shoving the market back down against them, they go full bear engulfing, and they can't even continue. Look at this really weak candle right here. We're getting more and more clues that the sellers, although they're trying, they're not really getting a whole lot done. When they finally tried again, it was a complete failure, turned around into a strong bull reaction. Buyers bought it up very aggressively, leading into a 1-2 punch back to the highs to finish the job off and get back up to at least near that the prior low of day. Now, they haven't hit it yet. They're still trying. They haven't hit it yet. But just an overall beautiful move today, back and forth. We started off the day with a really strong bear trend, And then now we're ending up with a strong bull trend, and there's still plenty of time left in the day where we could easily reverse this and go right back down again. So it's anybody's ball game right now, but the buyers certainly own this market. And just a beautiful wrap up in terms of how everything happened. The sellers got out of the way after their strong drive. They made way for the buyers to get their drive going. They finished the move off, and now we're expecting at least a little bit of a pullback here. The buyers are exhausted. So let them take a break before maybe returning back to the highs and finishing off that test of the prior low a day. Otherwise, the sellers may just take back over. So that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you found it useful. At least hopefully you found it interesting. And until next time, we will talk to you all later. Have a good one.